One is hardware, software, as well as empowering teachers to integrate technology. So, given that context, the integrations that happen within the school are meant, or the primary focus of those interventions and integrations is to raise the learning and to raise the attainment of students. Would you show some focus on that? How you were able to set those targets and how did you make it reachable or a smart goal that you have attained?
Thank you for your question. Primarily, I think when you have to integrate technology, you have to look at the context. You have to be aware of the tools that are prevalent in the scenario and see what is most suitable for your school. There is a difference between transforming the school and digitizing the school. Sometimes we just bring in technology for the sake of, bringing it in to say our school is digital, and we bring in tools that are not relevant. So we need to spend some time understanding and learning about these tools and seeing what impact it has. In my school, 9 years ago, we decided to go digital, and we made sure that we understood why we are transforming. We needed to see what was the purpose of this transformation. So we looked at freeing up teachers' time with a purpose. We wanted to make sure that we brought in tools that would actually make our teachers more productive. One of the tools we used was an adaptive learning tool. It was called MindSpark. It was for the teaching of mathematics. What I wanted was that the teacher should be free to attend to children with special needs or children at the lower end of the learning spectrum on a one-to-one. So when the larger numbers in the class were directing their own learning through this adaptive learning tool, it freed up the teachers to give that specialist time to children who were really challenged and spend one-to-one time. So this is one of the ways in which we made sure that the teacher was being used productively. We had a purpose in bringing in that tool into the classroom. Similarly, I found that earlier teachers spent a lot of time grading papers, assessing tests, short tests that happened in the classroom, and the feedback was given the next day or the next time the teacher met the students. So the feedback was not timely. The teacher didn't have an overview of what was happening in the classroom, and therefore I didn't find the lessons as effective as I do now when they use assessment for learning tools like Padlet and Mentimeter and quizzes. It gives the teacher and the class an immediate overview of how the class is progressing, and the teacher can tweak the lessons on the go. So this has enabled teachers to be more productive in class, and students know exactly where they're going wrong immediately. In GEMS, we also use a portal called Phoenix, which enables our parents to interact with the teachers in a timely manner. We don't have to wait for open houses when teachers have actually lost track of what exactly they wanted to convey about the child. Uh, After every lesson, the teacher is able to interact with the parent, give audio feedback or written feedback, and parent and student are able to derive greater benefit using these portals. So I've given you some examples in our context where we've adopted tools with a purpose in mind. So I think all transformation should look at the context of the school, and people, educators should actually learn about the tools and see what is relevant in their context, because just bringing in tools for the sake of digitizing or making a digital school won't serve the purpose.
Thank you, Asha ma'am. I'm pretty sure, as the saying goes, it's the principal who carries the banner of technology and banner of adaptability. And I think you have well portrayed the adaptive tools that are used in your school. Now, you also cited the effect of such integration, where the teacher gets more time. The teacher also has a lot of spare time to cater to the students of determination or the SEN as well as the gifted and talented. So my next question would be to Ms. Naira. When teachers use effectively integrate these technologies and the apps that some of them Miss Asha mentioned, like Padlet or Quizlet, everything, feedback is immediate. So there is a danger there. The parent or the student also would know what is their strength, at the same time, what is their area of improvement. Sometimes it could also bounce on to the teacher to say that this particular concept was not well taught or maybe not well understood. It can be interpreted in different contexts. So, taking that into context, we also have reversed the roles of teachers now as advisor, as an content expert, as well as a coach. So, there is altogether a paradigm shift from the traditional approach. And this is a huge change, a massive change. At the same time, all of us are change agents as the leaders of the school. So, how did you manage this change management, and do you suggest any easy or practical ways of such great leadership?
Thank you for the question. I will just build on the previous answer from Dr. Asha as well when she mentioned, all the tools. We know that our conversation now was shifted from are we using technology or not to how we are using technology to support differentiation, to support the role of a teacher as facilitator in the classroom. When we start building on that and we start that journey in my current school since 2012, we link it all the time to our concept of inquiry approach in the classroom. We need to differentiate learning. As a teacher, if I am just going to use my old methods as instructor, I will not be able to do that. As a facilitator, I need to plan ahead for my gifted students, for my students who will require additional support, and even for every student by the end to create what we call the individualized learning approach in the classroom. While doing that, we were obliged, of course, to seek the support of technology, which will save our time, our effort as educators. As you said, that vision need to be guided by the principal and the senior leadership team in the school. So we started ourselves by doing surveys, using Mentimeters, using Padlets in our current meetings as tools to model that experience for teachers. Then we started as well by creating a pioneer class in every grade level to use technology. We provide the appropriate equipment to the teacher. Facing afterwards the COVID-19 lockdown requirements into 2 years ago, it was an easy shift for our teachers to move from the in campus learning to the online learning. And that's why we were able to meet the requirements within 2 weeks, build our classroom, because using Teams for us was just another tool or another approach that supports the learning through that. Coming to the students and the parents, you're absolutely right. That journey needs to be conducted with all stakeholders. So we train our students inside classroom to use technology, of course, for assessment for learning and for as well learning different subjects. So we model that examples not only in specific subject taught in English, but even in Arabic, Islamic subject as well. So technology was part of our integrated journey with all the transdisciplinary learning model in our school. And also for parents, we were using specific tools to make them understand that communication could happen in a meaningful way through different channels. It's not only via teachers conference or only via face-to-face meeting. It could happen as well through conversation through the online learning tool that we used after for digital platform for learning. And from that, we were able to build all the picture of technology in the classroom. So we're not talking anymore about integrating technology. We're talking about models of learning using different tools, which technology become, of course, one of the most valuable tool for us by the end.
Well, thank you. Well said, ma'am. I think you
Thank
started
you.
from the point of inquiry and then integration and then the transdisciplinary approach. And now we look at the models of learning where we are seasoned and we are matured enough now, and all our teachers, all our stakeholders as well, to take the journey on board. Now, my next question, integrating all these, what Ms. Naira said to Dr. Saima. Now we have these taglines everywhere like STEM, STEAM, STREAM, uh, and now the latest one which has come is SHAPE. Now, SHAPE is social sciences, humanities, arts for people, and the economy. So that is SHAPE. That's a new acronym which is being used, uh, more or less an opposite to STEM, I can call it as, okay? Because STEM is more on the science, mathological, everything, whereas SHAPE is on the humanities front, okay? Now, given the context of point of inquiry and the modes of learning, as well as the transdisciplinary approach, how do we balance both the disciplines? And would you throw some light about your experience in your school?
Hello, hi. Yes, of course. I mean, I think it builds upon what colleagues have said earlier. It really very much, I think for me, it's very, very simple. And colleagues have said it earlier. It's about the enhancement. It's not about the replacement of anything. It's about enhancing educational experiences for all our children, whoever those children are. And that's where the differentiated approach comes in, I think. And I think the same can be said about the curriculum. So in previous years, we saw a lot of the STEAM, the technological advancements and developments in certain areas of the curriculum. So you saw a lot in technology, you saw a lot in perhaps the mathematical aspects of a curriculum. But I think what, if I may, the global pandemic has done many things for many people. But what it did for education was really interesting because it fast forwarded us into a position whereby we were all forced to upskill. And we heard earlier, all stakeholders were, if you like, forced to upskill, whether they were parents, students, schools, leaders. We were all put in a position where we knew that if we had to get through this now 18 months, which we didn't know then, period of time, technology was the thing that was going to help us serve our children and deliver our curriculum, because we couldn't stop. There was no choice. We had to continue. The teachers had to continue, schools had to continue. So in a way, rather than using technology just to deliver simple methods of teaching, we were forced to use it as an enabler for enhancing our curriculum. And there were some easy sort of wins there because we've been using technology. People had laptops, people had iPads and mobile phones, etc. But there were some really encouraging methodologies used. So, for example, the use of artificial intelligence, the use of augmented reality. So no longer did you need a science lab or a drama studio or a music studio to actually play instruments or carry out science experimentation. Of course, there was some loss of experience there, but you were able to use augmented reality to be able to do these practical elements, cover the practical elements of the curriculum. Things like looking at, I said, virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. So those are three that really came into their own right, rather than using technology as a static piece of resource that we were using in previous years. And research has shown that's what we were doing in previous years. In a way, the global pandemic put us in a position, I feel, lots of bad stuff has happened as a result of the pandemic, and I don't underestimate that. But something that was really good that came out, for me, very much, at my educational establishment, was very much the use of technology to increase aspiration and ambition for what we are delivering to our children and how we are delivering to our children. I think education has fast forwarded and moved beyond where it could have been pre-COVID had we not had the use of technology. And a company like GEMS Education, for example, works tirelessly in ensuring that future technologies are recognized and appreciated. So our founder and chairman, Mr. Sunny Barkley, is a genuine inventor. He's always thinking of new ways of using technology, introducing technology, but also implementing. He loves action. So as GEMS, and myself and my colleague here from GEMS, Asha, we very much have huge ambition for the use of technology. And that technology isn't just lumped into a curriculum, it's actually carefully, with a nuanced approach, detailed implementation takes place across our curriculum. So if you like, it's fit for purpose. We use it, and we heard earlier from colleagues, we use it where it needs to be used, and where it doesn't need to be used, we do not use it. And so, in a way, it's grown our curriculum experiences for all our children, but also our teachers as well. They're teaching differently. An example would be, in an art lesson the other day, I walked in, and our children were visiting an art gallery in London, but they were doing that through augmented reality in an art lesson. And the feeling and the way in which they were interacting with this gallery, and the awe and the wonder wearing their goggles, and you could hear them, they were standing and they were going, wow, oh my God, wow, they were there. And it's so different to them using a beautiful art book, which are beautiful, and I love books, but it was a different emotion that was being, if you like, released in terms of an education experience. And the same very quickly, I would say about an essay I read the other day of a Shakespeare sonnet, where a child had written something having read Shakespeare, but then had used their virtual reality experience to actually visit Shakespeare's house in Stoke-on-Trent. And when you compared the two pieces of work that he had written, one before the virtual reality introduction and one after, the after was so much more powerful, and the power was coming from feeling. He was able to sort of connect with it. So I think those are just two examples of where I have found technology to really enhance the art, and which are really important. But ultimately, in my opinion, as a school leader and somebody who has worked in technology for a very long time, you know, technology will not take over education, and it will not take over our teachers and leaders, as we all know, and as we've seen, because there was lots of talk about having robots as teachers, if you remember, very many years ago. Were we going to take over? Were robots going to take over our jobs as teachers? But that's not going to happen, because what underpins a great lesson and a great experience, resources like technology are important, but ultimately the passion and the love and the care of the teacher is most important. And I think the pandemic has shown us that in recent times. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. I think, yes, you have touched on a few of the areas which our colleagues also have already escalated in a way. And I'm quite thrilled with the wow effect or the wow experience of students. I can also narrate a few times when I visited on my learning walks. Most of the teachers of science and maths, they use gizmos, which is more of a simulations. And children love those. They never want the science period to be completed or the science lesson to end. They want more and more simulations to experience it. And the 3D images that have come now, previously it used to be a drawing or something, maybe a diagram, but now they can experience it. For example, the functions of heart. It's so vivid, and they get so enthralled with that, and it definitely has the wow effect. Similarly, in maths also, they use a lot of geoboards, where they can actually work on the shapes. And when it comes to the literacy, they have the story weaver or the word wall, where they connect their own stories and they create wonderful creative writings. I think those have become in a way, the attractions for the students, despite being online, sometimes remotely attending the classes. But these have enabled them to experience the school, and altogether, it's a transdisciplinary approach, at the same time, a multisensory approach. So, from normal, if I call it, though UAE no school has the mundane, routine, traditional teaching, but from a typical traditional approach, we have gone into a multidisciplinary approach where students have become experts, more than the teachers, in fact, to use smart technology. And I do find sometimes when I go to conduct an assembly or something, when my screen does not get reflected, immediately they guide me, and I'm quite thrilled. And I always tell them, thank you for doing it. Okay. So we have moved a lot, I know, and all schools have also adopted to ERPs, FIMS, and most of our work now is on project management. We are using a lot of templates of those. From manual documents, we have moved to PMs now. And I think teachers also have adapted to that. So given that ready access to attendance, to timetables, to health records, discipline or behavioral issues, including grades and reports. So my next question to Asha ji will be, uh, this integration or the modeling of technology has given or has automated most of the mundane tasks which the teachers used to do. Of course, you have touched upon that in the beginning, but still, I just want more of input from you. Like the administrative work for teachers, grading papers, assessing, learning patterns, replying to general emails or questions. There are schools who have also used or who use chatbots now. So this is more like a FAQs. Frequently asked questions are answered by the chatbots. So no more teacher or the receptionist is required. So we have gained a lot of time now in terms of saving or sparing. And now, how productively do we plan, or how do we maximize that spare time of teachers so that it goes into productive utilization? Yes, Asha ma'am.
I feel that we have to strategize. We have to technology and using technology effectively and freeing up the time of teachers or administrators uh, means that we use that time productively. So the leaders must have an idea what they want to do with the teachers. It's not that you free up time and teachers are not as productive as we want them to be. So one of the things we looked at in our school was when we get an opportunity to learn through this pandemic, we wanted to return to the wider world. So we decided to have teachers collaborating with teachers worldwide using the technology platform, which now most schools are using worldwide on account of the pandemic. So teachers were able to actually now conduct classes with children in other parts of the world using technology. So when we freed up the time for teachers within the classroom by taking away mundane tasks and administrative tasks, they got more time to have longer durations of conducting lessons with students as far away as Gold Coast in Australia, in Malawi, in India. So children learned about the context of those schools using these platforms. This is just one way where we use the time that was available by releasing, the tasks like filling up some forms or sheets or grading students. So every school should ensure that the time that is released is used productively. For that, you have to strategize. It has to be the culture of the school to make sure that we return what we have learned, not just to our GEMS community or to the UAE community, but worldwide. So we are actually pushing not to work in silos, but to make sure that we connect the entire world through technology. It isn't enough if some of us progress. If the whole world has to change, we have to be the harbingers of that change. If we have led with technology, we have benefited from technology, now's our time to return that to the rest of the world. So we are on a mission to make sure that whenever teachers have the time, a lot of our teachers are engaged in uplifting girls' education in India. We're working with children in India. We are making sure that our students speak in Hindi to them. They use their mobile phones, and we want gender equity. We want to make sure that all girls get some kind of education. So there are wonderful ways in which technology is being used. And this is possible because teachers have more time on their hands away from mundane tasks. So this is something that we are really passionate about and sort of defines who we are as a school. So the culture of the school and the strategies the school has will define how we shape the time that is released and given to teachers.
Well said. Thank you, Asha ma'am. Yes, it's the passion and the culture and the ethos of the school which has to be developed. And as I said in the beginning, principal is the banner holder for all such initiatives and passion which comes in. And being in UAE, all of us know we attempt a lot of benchmark tests like ASSET, IBT, GL progressive test, CAT4, so many. And we also notice that every report that comes, individualized report or the personalized report, comes in with the strengths, with the areas of improvement, and even with the guidance. To the extent CAT4 gives us even the projected scores by the end of the year or by the end of for the board exams as well. In CBS it is grade 10, in IGCSE it is the GCSE exams, everything. So given that context, I think all of us as leaders have a lot of access to a lot of ready-made information, ready reckoner that we are with in terms of the attainment of students, the work of the students, as well as the performance of teachers as well. Now, Asha ma'am also stated about the gold cause. It could be in Australia, it could be any part of the world. And recently, when I was reading a book, I understood that even the library books could be read out by the same author using artificial intelligence. So this is being given by Bidu, a China-made app, where the library book, any book, it could be, for example, if the book is written by, let us say, Chetan Bhagat, for example. So the voice of Chetan Bhagat is taken in snippet of 3 seconds or so, and then if we switch on the app, Chetan Bhagat will be reading out the entire book that he has written himself. What an experience for students, definitely. They would definitely love to listen to the voice of the author. So that's just an example I'm quoting here. But given the context now, with readily available resources, we have the entire world market in front of us with different apps for each of the languages, specialization into different subjects. At the same time, there are also certain threats, there are also certain well-being questions that would be at school for different stakeholders. So it is inevitable for us that we need to have an ICT strategy or the ICT policy for every school. Now, I just want to get an idea. What are some of the highlights of the ICT strategy, or what would be those non-negotiables that we need to include in the ICT policy of the school? So may I request Dr. Saima?
Absolutely. I think that, look, a good head teacher, a good school ensures that everything aligns with their school improvement plan. They ensure that no matter what it is that they're introducing, whether it's careers guidance, whether it's IT strategy, whether it's employability or languages enrichment, whatever it is, it has to align with the school improvement plan. And the school improvement plan, of course, is really based around the needs of the community, the school community. So in that respect, a good IT strategy would look at, I would say, broadly, the following areas. It would look at the leadership and management. How does technology, how will technology help aid, support, guide, and facilitate our leadership and management in this school? And the leadership and management of the school would be not just the senior leadership, it would be the middle leadership, it would be the student leadership, it would be the parent leadership, and it would be the teacher leadership. It would then look at behavior, personal development and welfare, if you like, of children. How will the information technology strategy support this area, crucial area of work, which incorporates safeguarding, incorporates things like behavior, bullying, abuse, etc. online. You know, there's a social etiquette that needs to be taught. So how will that support our work in that area? It'll of course have to align with curriculum assessment and reporting. How do we use information technology to enhance the experiences of the three key stakeholders, the teachers, the parents, and the students, to be able to monitor, track, record, put in interventions? How will IT help us do that? And we know there's some fantastic software programs at the moment using artificial intelligence, where neuroscientists have developed some amazing resources to be able to tell when a child is absolutely comfortable and competent and really happy with the curricular content of an area, and when they're not, by just the click of a finger. How long does it take somebody, a child, to move their mouse from one place to another? Can show us as educators how confident they are in this area of work. Assessment for learning can be very much facilitated with the use of technology. The fourth area is very much about teaching and learning. how can technology support our teaching and learning experience? We talked a little bit and we've heard a lot about, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence. How do the experiences within a classroom actually expand now and go beyond that classroom and move away from the four walls of a classroom through the use of technology? How does technology help our children progress? With the progression in every episode, in every experience of a classroom activity is a non-negotiable. So that's the fourth area. And I suppose loosely then the fifth area which I would call corporate services. So what are the corporate services in a school? The finances, the HR, the catering, the resource management, the site services. How will technology support us and help us to really enhance, and we heard a little bit earlier, really support efficient running protocols and procedures of school operation. So for example, instead of having somebody take registers by hand or understand when staff are coming in and out in terms of punctuality, attendance, safeguarding, child protection, how can technology help us do that? So I think those are the five sort of areas that if I were putting an IT technology, information technology policy together, I would ensure that it aligned with my school improvement plan. Those would be my five areas. And of course, then you have to monitor and track it. And there are many means that one can use to monitor and track how effective and how successful an IT policy is. And again, I think we talked earlier about outcomes. It goes back to the outcomes. How successful are our children? And the success is not just measured in how many children went to the top universities. Of course, that's what we want. But success can be measured in means of how many children have gone in to be an apprentice, and in turn travel the world, be a volunteer, be a philanthropist. How many children have done that with the power of education underpinned with technology, because ambitions and aspirations have grown? So that's how I would answer that question.
Well, thank you, Dr. Saima. I think you have encapsulated it clearly that the purpose as well as teaching and learning are the key areas, and the ICT strategy should be embedded with the school improvement plan, which is more realistic and more measurable. Well, I think we have a couple of questions here. I'll just take them maybe at a later stage, but just to give heads up, more or less, there are a couple of questions which are almost similar. Now, the major challenge for any leader in the digital disruption or the digital transformation is the leader being outdated. That's a major challenge I would consider. If I know that my students are on Insta, if I know that my students are on Snapchat, if I know that my students are on Facebook, I need to be on those as well. And I need to understand what it means to be on Insta, what it means to be on Snapchat, or what it means to be on FB. Unless I master those skills and I am aware of those factors, I would never be a successful leader. So the major challenge or the major setback for us is not acknowledging that digital world is the future of the world. And if my students who are in grade 10 or grade 8 or grade 7, in the next 10 years, they are going to be professionals. And if I don't prepare them for that professional life, which is going to come after 5 to 10 years, I am the most outdated person in the industry or in the school. So that is the greatest challenge I would consider for any educational leader. Well, coming back to the discussion, UAE has taken a great leap in integrating technology or modeling technology. And around the weekend, we have the Expo. So that is the main, headline everywhere. And that is showcasing the country's growth and prosperity as well. So there are 5 big ideas that UAE has taken with all the schools as part of technology integration. And the 5 big ideas are, the first one is perception, second one is representation and reasoning, third one is learning, and the fourth is natural interaction, while the fifth is the societal impact. Now, whether it is artificial intelligence, augmented reality, or virtual reality, or the design thinking, or even the machine learning or deep learning, these are critical 5 big ideas. Now, I would just request each of the panelists to show some light on any of those 5 big ideas of UAE and how you want to take them, or how you have been already implementing them in your schools. You can opt in.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Naira.
So if we're talking about first, our leadership responsibility, as you said, each leader is upskilling himself first to be able to cope with the team and challenge the team sometime with additional questions whenever it's needed. Yes, indeed, it's very important to interact with the students, to interact with the teachers, to interact with our IT management team in order to build the technology inside the classroom. I myself, I've been an online facilitator since 2000 exactly, and I've seen how that field has been also growing from one day to another. As a lifelong learner, I'm not talking only about myself, I'm talking about each member in our community, because we need to be updated with the latest technology to enhance our learning inside classrooms. Coming to the 5 areas that we talk about, and also in relation to the expo, we started first by understanding the concept and the purpose of such a huge, maybe one lifetime event that we will be attending for almost 6 months, and how we can enhance learning with our students using the information that is really in our heads. For sure, virtually, we have been attending several meetings about the expo, but we're starting as well our field trip very early in October, according to our units of inquiry. So we build all our curriculum this academic year around the expo. We have been working 2 years back as well to enhance the learning of our students and to make them understand what opportunity is in their hands in order to make sure that we reach that stage. Coming to the virtual reality and how that has supported us during the pandemic time, and even when we were not allowed to take trips to any places, we continue our learning journey with the expo expectation. We continue as well to upskill our students to use the different ways of communications and channel to seek information, which enable us to open our service to the external community of parents and any stakeholders or staff member in our community to know more as well about that event. And that was a good example of innovation and creativity that we work hard on it for almost 2 years right now. Now it's time to see the results of all that hard work when our students will be actually visiting the expo booth and benefiting from all prior knowledge that they have been aware of it before going to the actual trip.
Thank you, Ms. Naira. Thank you so much. Yes, Ms. Asha or Dr. Simon on the 5 big ideas.
I'm happy for Miss Aisha to go next. Miss Aisha to get next if
Okay,
you'd like.
fine.
I'm happy to go next. I can go next. So in terms of the big ideas, so at GEMS World Academy, we have 5 specialisms, and they are the Institute of Language. We have the biggest language offer at GEMS World Academy. We have inclusion, so we're an all-inclusive school. Regardless of your starting point, we'll take you in, and we're a top-performing international baccalaureate school. We have enrichment and opportunity, which is all about sport and opportunity, expressive arts, etc. for our children. So we have over 131 clubs for our children after school. And we have high performance. We're a high-performing international baccalaureate school all through, from nursery to diploma program. And our final one, which really is something I'm very connected to, is enterprise, social impact, and innovation, which is just so beautifully aligned to the expo. Because of course, the expo, as you say, with the 5 big ideas, the expo, in a nutshell, is really about being entrepreneurial, being a charitable person who gives and looks after their planet and looks after their people who perhaps don't have as much as what some of us have, and is also about invention. And again, I go back to our chairman, Mr. Sunny Barking, who's a great role model, because he is all 3 of those. He's an entrepreneur, as we know. He is a philanthropist, one of the biggest hearts he has, and he's an inventor through and through. So for us at GEMS and GEMS Education and GEMS World Academy, these three areas form our specialism. And that specialism we absolutely have enhanced through the use of technology. So very quickly, I'll give you three examples. So enterprise, what we've done is through augmented reality, because of the pandemic, but we will continue, we have provided careers, education and advice and guidance for our children, in particular in grade 11 and 12. How have we done that? So for example, we believe education serves two purposes. It serves the purpose of ensuring that children are educated, they learn about things, they gain knowledge, not rote knowledge, but they gain knowledge. But the second is to ensure that they are prepared for the world beyond school. And what that, as I said earlier, can look like is universities, but it can also look like traveling, philanthropy, internships, apprenticeships, a job, being a housewife or a house husband, whatever it is. We want our children to have choices. So what we've done is through that careers, the second part, the second objective we have here is in terms of preparation. We have ensured that our children are able to have access to over 500 businesses using augmented reality, because it doesn't matter where they are in the world has suddenly become flat. We're able to interconnect with people that we would have never been able to connect with because it would have just been too hard. We would have thought it would have been really difficult. But I go back, the pandemic and technology has allowed us to raise our game and raise our aspirations for everybody, not just for some. And so our children are able to be interviewed, have psychometric testing, speak like a TED in a TED style conference with a huge virtual audience, and the kids are speaking. And we all know when you're speaking on a panel or in front of a big public audience, it can be quite nerve-wracking. So they're getting that experience. So we're using it for the entrepreneurial part in terms of careers advice. In terms of social impact, we're a school that believes in giving. Our mission is education for a better world, because we believe through education, we are going to improve our beautiful world. We're going to give and help those that are underprivileged, less advantaged than ourselves. And so one of the things our children do is they raise money through sustainability, through ensuring that they are giving to charity. But what they're doing is using online facilities to be able to, we heard from Ms. Asha earlier, we're using online facilities to be able to educate people in poorer countries. So we heard a fantastic example of the Indian schools connection where children are speaking in Hindi and so on. That's what we're doing here at GEMS World Academy, something very similar, where our children are using technology to identify needs of a community that is less fortunate, less advantaged as themselves. So we're working with a school in Africa at the moment, for example. And then the final one is invention, innovation. Once again, technology has allowed us, people are going to the moon now. They're really going to the moon, and they're using technology that is smaller than the chip in our phones to be able to do that. That is amazing. We live in a great world where possibilities are just limitless. So we're teaching our children to be able to invent things. So recently, one of our children, two separate examples I'll give very quickly, have invented the most amazing technological solutions to, for example, one of their cats lost a leg, and they've created, through looking at algorithms and coding, a leg for their cat. I mean, that's really helping someone. It's helping something, and it's making the world a better place. So it's things like that when we look at technology and specialisms for our school, and then the connection with Expo. It couldn't be a better place to be, Dubai, where we've got the world's greatest show coming, and it's underpinned by being an entrepreneur, having high ambitions, being part of charity and social impact, so being a good global citizen, and then invention, using technology and other means to be able to really deliver. And I want to finish by saying, you talk very interestingly about being outdated. I think you can't be outdated. You don't have a choice anymore. You cannot be in leadership and lead schools if you are not up to date with what's happening around education and the world economy, actually. And I think it's not just about technology. I would defy any head teacher to say that she has not kept up to date with everything that's going on in education, whether it's assessment for learning, whether it's differentiation, whether it's sports and enrichment, whether it's mental health and well-being, which is huge just before pandemic. It was huge, and it still is, and it should be, quite rightly so. And of course, technology. So we as head teachers are always, and as teachers, always learning. We're always upskilling. And that is how teachers of the world became superheroes in the global pandemic. because they're used to this. They're used to being resilient. They're used to saying, it doesn't matter, we've got to get on and we've got to do it. So the outdated concept is really interesting for many, I would say, industries, but I would say it's not that much of a challenge in education because we're very used to being able to keep up to date and on our toes.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. That's great. I think you touched upon all the 5 areas. Miss Asha, would you like to add anything? Please unmute, ma'am.
Improve society.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yes. I feel that our education must meet the needs of society. That's why we have, we must use technology today to make sure we are bringing the world closer together, which is what the Expo is doing. If you look at its 3 themes of sustainability, opportunity, and mobility, all have its roots if we use technology well. And I would like for all of our schools to grow students who are useful to society. That is the purpose of education. And if we can use technology to effect that, whether it is being philanthropic or inventing or being entrepreneurial or leading the world into a different direction, but bringing the whole world closer together, that would be the best use of technology. And so in our schools, we provide opportunities for children to experience all of this. I'm very passionate about embedding the Sustainable Development Goals worldwide. It is not enough for a few of our schools to lead on this, and if as many schools in the world can continue to create that ripple effect using technology well to reach into the recesses of places where there is poverty, where there is not so much information available, we owe it as part of us being educators to use this technology to give opportunity to those who don't have opportunity. Because I think intelligence is there in every place, but opportunity is not. And technology is going to provide that opportunity to the poorest of the poor. And we are not about growing larger or better in our own little well. We want to make sure that we are able to give as much as we can to the rest of the world through this platform. So I think that is the purpose of our education, to make global citizens who have an impact on the world and who are able to share all their learning through the use of technology. So if educators can use technology with this purpose in mind, that it is for use to spread whatever learning you can have worldwide, then the impact across the world is going to be faster and greater.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I think, yes, you made the fine point. Integrating technology with the SDGs to prepare the global citizens is the key role of every school and every school leader. That's definitely the prime focus of every school. Well, as we come closer to the end, my just one question is, I always believe that technology came first and the principal as technology leader came later. Okay. At least in my case, I must admit that. Okay. So every principal learned it by doing, and I'm sure all of us, maybe without any doubt, have learned it by doing. So now that we have so many aspiring leaders who must be the audience definitely, and even me as a learner still, what would be that learning journey that you would like to share with us or give that guidance to the aspiring leaders? It is an open question to anyone. If you can just give 1 or 2 liners, what would be that one advice or one guidance to the aspiring leaders or even to the leaders, existing leaders?
I think I would.
Okay, fine.
Me.
Yes, Miss Naira, please. Please unmute.
Is still mute.
It's interesting how we all jump in to give advice. It's the job of a principal, right? We were all ready to give it.
Okay, fine. Yes, Miss Naira.
As we are all lifelong learners, as we're saying all the time, technology was coming as a natural learning journey with all other subjects. Even before becoming a teacher, I'm sure all of us, we are educators and teachers. So I used to be an ICT teacher while being as well a math teacher before being a PYP coordinator, MYP, and then, acting principal and principal by the end. So learning technology is a natural learning journey that enable all of us to reach that stage. It's not only about technology when we are talking. Any new ideas, to be innovative is not just to create something from the scratch, is to use a different context in a meaningful way for our community. This is how I'm developing innovation all the time with all our leaders. And here, when I'm saying leaders in every school, I'm sure all the leaders will agree with me that each voice counts. Not only the senior leadership team, nor the grade level leaders or the homeroom teacher at that stage, but every voice, even the students and the parents as well in our community. So one tip that will help each one of us to become a real words of education, and one tip as well that help all of us to overcome the challenge of pandemic and seeking as an opportunity for growth for each school, is to continue learning in general. Any learning curve will help us to do a better mission as school principal.
Thank you, Ms. Naira. That's great. Yes. Ms. Asha.
Yes, what I would like to leave the audience with is always look at your context, look at the capabilities of your learners, look to understand what are the needs of the people, because every digital journey is different, every school is different, every context is different. Don't try to replicate what is happening in another school or another region. Take the ideas, assess them, reflect on them, learn as much as you can about them, and use them as effectively as you can in your own context. Just as people are unique, every school and every context is unique, every time frame is unique, and we don't have to replicate what we see in another school in our region or around the world. We need to be able to assess, reflect, and use technology as best as we can to meet a purpose that the school has. So look at your structure, look at your strategies, look at your culture, the capabilities of your students, and above all, the customer and what needs are to be met. And then if you think about that, I'm sure you will be able to use technology as effectively in any part of the world.
Thank you, Asha ma'am. I know, yeah, it's a purpose which is more critical for us. Well, yes, Dr. Saima, would you?
Yes, I'll be very brief, but I would leave with two pieces of advice. One is, never forget, as a leader, we've heard earlier, we are all teachers. I'm sure, I'm a teacher myself, I still teach. Education is not something that can be replaced by something. I mean, I said that a little earlier. Education is like romance, it's like culture, it's like religion. It's one of those things that it happens through relationships and back and forth, and it happens through care and kindness and nurture and respect and all of those things. So as a leader, always remember that. We're not working in a manufacturing company. We're not working in an organization that's selling a product. Some people define it as that. It's not that. Education is something that is so special, and it changes lives, it changes societies, it changes countries, it changes the world. And so always remember that the job that you will be doing as a leader is just such an amazing job. It's such a wonderful job, and there is no better job to contribute to our wonderful world than the job of a leader, I would say, or a teacher. And I think the second thing I would say is that you have to be passionate and you have to believe in your own leadership skills, even if they're not brilliant, even if you're not there yet. Because like you said, we all started from somewhere. We all started as classroom teachers, and we've been promoted or headhunted or seen as people that can lead a group of people or a community. So you have to believe in yourself, especially when others aren't. And there'll be many, many times as leaders that no one will believe in you. But you have to stand there and believe in yourself. And that's what great leaders do.
Thank you, Dr. Saima. Well said. I think, yes, as we come to the end of the panel discussion, I would like to wrap up to say that technology or change is inevitable. and the future is with technology. All of us experience it in every aspect of life. And I think education, for whatever reason, at least the pandemic has pushed us to adopt technology at a faster rate. Maybe we would have adopted it at a later stage, but I think pandemic is definitely a blessing and a boon for all of us, especially for educators. And I think our children are going to be the future, and they are going to have much advanced technology than what they're going to use right now, and which we struggle with right now. And I think so technology and modeling technology is the reason for all schools to exist henceforth. That should be the call of every leader to embed. Now that all schools are reopening, all of us are getting back to the school with normal students and teachers in campus, I think we should always maintain the same tempo of integrating that technology and modeling the technology. Those students return physically to the school. I think the tech that we used, the tech that we have been embedded with should continue, and that is going to be the future for all our children. Well, it was nice sharing your ideas and interacting with all of you. Thank you so much, Asha ma'am, Miss Naira, and Dr. Saima. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful panel discussion discussed by our panelists and well moderated by our session moderator. I'm sure delegate will have very good learning and thoughtful takeaway from this session. Moving further with our speaker certificate distribution as a token of thank you, starting with Mr. Arogya Reddy, Pandi Reddy, Principal Ambassadors School, Sharjah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Saima Rana, CEO Principal, Jim Ford Academy, Dubai. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Asa Alexander, Principal, James Legacy School, Dubai. Thank you, ma'am, for the session.
Thank you so much.
And last but not least, Naira Hamdi, School Principal, Dar Al Marifa Private School, Dubai. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So that's all for this session. The other session will be scheduled according to the event agenda. For this time, we are closing for this session. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.